Nerd Night number 3.
Try this. Mine's one.
To our third Nerd Night Wellington. We're quite excited that people have continued to rock up, especially since the weather's really good and quite tempting for beers outside in the sunshine somewhere. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Amy Woodcroft. On Twitter, I'm to Amy. And my co-host is Brian Calhoun, that kind of says everything. We kind of like to geek out, nerd out. We don't make much of a distinction between geeks and nerds, really. You can go and make new friends. So yes, thank you so much for rocking up again. It is such a privilege to have you guys here. Now, our speakers tonight, for those of you who haven't already memorized the lineup, is we've got Colin Jackson talking about the tragedy of the commons. Alan Bell is unfortunately unable to make it. We've got Fabiana Couclet talking about, well, all kinds of things, neuroscience, microscopy, imaging. It's going to be brilliant. And then number 4, we've got Paul Moss talking about the art of astronomy in Aotearoa. So that should be oodles of fun.
Our final speaker tonight is Paul Moss, and he's going to be speaking about the art of astronomy in Aotearoa. Paul will discuss the transition of sharing historical astronomical spaces to creating new astronomical spaces to share. The talk will cover traditional astronomy events and the explosion of new astro-style eventing brought about with social networks, music and video, art, culture, and environmentalism. Moving from the cave to stone circles, planetariums, music and cultural festivals, and beyond. Paul Moss is a new media artist specializing in astrophotography and astrovideo for entertainment and art gallery installations, and has been published in many newspapers and magazine articles, CD covers, posters, calendars, almanacs, and astronomy books. Paul organizes events with telescopes on the street and live music performances, runs camera crews for video screens at major music and cultural festivals, and performs on occasion as VJ, DJ, and Dubmaster Moza.
Thanks, Brian. Well, thanks for coming, Ashley. That's the most important thing, and thank you for the invitation. A special welcome to our international guests on Ustream. Thank you for that. Khalid, especially from Pakistan, in fact. Okay, Sharing Space is an organisation that's web-based, and so I suppose it's not just virtual because real people do it. We are inspired. Lots of my friends and I just joined together. We're inspired by the light and the dark more of the southern sky. And the southern sky is really, really special to us because there's lots of stuff up there that people have been looking at for millennia. If we go back 17,000 years, we find that humans were artists and they created spaces for their art. Okay. No problem. Now, in these caves in France, they painted lots and lots and lots of animals. And if you look closely at the animals, you'll find that I've suddenly got 90 more key presses to do. And here, in the detail of some of those paintings, are representations of what those people 17,000 years ago saw in the sky. And this very same thing in the sky was watched pretty much worldwide by the people that live here. And we know it as the Pleiades, aka Makaviki, and over there the Hyades. Okay. And then from the caves, we moved through the millennia and created lots more spaces for people to look at the stars and actually find out about the stars, make some measurements. So back in Egypt, they built these huge spaces that were aligned with precision. I don't think we still know how to do it. That was so from pyramids and triangles we moved to circles, and perhaps before the pyramids were built we moved these stones. I was quite joyed to see Easter Island before, because why did they put those things there? I've got no idea. Rapanu has a story that really I don't think has been told yet. So Stonehenge was used for lots and lots of things, and it's been subject of a lot of debate, but most of us know it as an astronomical observatory, to the point where here in Aotearoa my friends have built a replica of Stonehenge. It's called Stonehenge Aotearoa, and you can go out there to the Wairopa and see it for yourself. Particularly go there on particular days when the sun and the moon rise and fall and various stars actually fit, because it's pretty cool. Well, wrap around. And then over the years we moved on, we built new spaces. We call them observatories and planetariums, where people now don't need to go to Stonehenge and sit around outside looking at the stars. They can go to Carter Observatory here in Kelvin. That telescope, incidentally, is 140 years old. It was the first telescope to take photographs of Halley's Comet in 1910 in Napier, and it is still in perfect working order and probably will be for several hundred years when all of our technology isn't. Carter has a planetarium, newly refurbished, and back in the days we ran lots of interesting celebrations. This particular one was Mata Ora, which takes place right now at this time of the year. It's Maori and Polynesian navigation celebrations with music. Worldwide, planetariums get bigger and bigger. I think that's the Smithsonian, but I'm not sure. And that's where astronomy takes place more than outside by a lot more people. So astronomy's that's a more virtual space these days. That's the way that it was done until the last decade or so. And about 5 years ago, the call came out of New Zealand to make movies of the night sky. Now the task was to create 24 hours of pure sky, daytime and nighttime. Repeat that 6 times in quality, and figure out some way of playing it, let alone storing it. So we figured out the camera over there did all of the daytime in HDV really, it's not true HD. And the night footage wasn't possible. Nobody can take movies of the night sky with any kind of quality level, so we enlisted astrophotographers in New Zealand, including myself, the one of Stonehenge Aotearoa, for instance, just the top bit. And we made a whole string of movies by virtual camera, using Adobe After Effects, Sony Vegas Pro, Premiere, and delivered them to historic galleries like this one, which incidentally is in Shortland Street, and it used to be AKTV2, and I don't know if anybody remembers Barbara Magna from AKTV2, but literally that tower there was the first TV transmitter in New Zealand. And now it's owned by the University of Auckland. It's called the Kenneth Myers Centre, and it has in it the Gus Fisher Gallery, and so we did 4 hours of pure sky, which seemed to us to be pretty strange at the time, projecting clouds onto the wall. Who would do that? In Dunedin, we went down there and we made, by this time we'd made 4 movies and 4 screens, and they went, can you do a 5th? And I went, okay, so we did 5 movies. And I think that one there shows the scale quite well to what we did. The auditorium in Dunedin Art Gallery was Absolutely huge. It took us 2 days to rig the projectors and sort it all out. Funded by Creative New Zealand, I might say. It was quite expensive, that one. In Auckland, we went to an art gallery called, which really is more of a performance space called Galapagos. And if you look at this building right here, this was my first job. Over here is this one, sorry. My first job, 17 years of age, and that was the centre of all radio communications in the entire Auckland region for a very long time. Peter Chanda came and sung in the ancient Gantava process, so the concept of stars was in fact 8 praharas, which are 3 hours each, and the music actually played for 24 hours, believe it or not, 24 1.5 hours of music. And Apita sang for precisely 22.5 minutes, 11.25 minutes either side of the centre of the 3 hours, sorry. And it looked a little bit like that. That's actually a synthetic version. Of course, I overlaid the pictures because it's pretty difficult to take such pictures at night time and make it go right. Then the film archive said, could we play it for 26 days, 24 hours around the clock, and I opened the roller shutter on the, they call it the loading bay at the film archive. And so for the first time, we brought art and astronomy together in reality with sidewalk astronomy and had people looking through telescopes while the stars played on the screen, and that was kind of what I've been aiming at for quite a long time. Then we took it to the stage in Foxton. In Foxton there is the MAVTEC, the Museum of Audiovisual, the biggest collection of audiovisual equipment in the Southern Hemisphere, in a 100-year-old picture theatre with really, really old projectors, cameras, you name it, all the radio gear from my childhood that the post office had back in those days, a film collection out the back, a really amazing place. And I've got a whole bunch of friends to write some music and be VJs. And I think the bit that I really like about that, the special bit about that, is the whopper at the top, which is my future dream for navigation to the rest of the universe, because the answers of the world may include going to Mars if people over 60 are prepared to go and not come back. Apparently that's only 10% of the cost. I'll go. Yeah. That's there's a shot of all the guys, and what can I say, really? It was huge, and we're planning on doing that again at Stonehenge Arcadia, where we're going to use the inside of Stonehenge Arcadia as our projection screen, and we're going to fill up some of the spaces between the uprights and project coming back in. And I'll show you the pictures of that shortly. For some reason, last year, several years ago, the International Astronomical Union and UNESCO, the International Year of Astronomy, and that really, what that meant was that community outreach was encouraged big time. No money, no funding, but more people on the street and more telescopes and more activity than ever before. So I worked with a bunch of organisations. I run Sidewalk Astronomers, paying homage to John Dobson, who started this thing about 60 or 70 years ago in San Francisco. It's now based in LA. We do International Sidewalk Astronomy Night, and you'll see there 2009, it was April the 4th, and on that day, this is the previous year, down on the wharf, under the sails, and I've got to go back now out of time sequence. This one here was actually November the year before, 2008. My friends started an organisation called the Bin Stargazers that turned out to yield a photo with fireworks guys next door while we're watching the sky. They travelled the world, probably it's probably the most viewed of my pictures. I can work out about 6 million, something of that order, but I suspect that it's probably a lot more. We also work with Astronomers Without Borders. Now I put a call out to Astronomers Without Borders, and if anybody's listening, cheers. We have people that are already interested in community outreach all over the world that go with this organisation based in LA. We do astronomy for April's 1 month a year, but actually we do it all year round. And you can see we also have Starpiece. Now one of the members of Starpiece, Khalid from Pakistan, was watching before I was chatting to him. Starpiece came out of Iran and Iraq, and a whole bunch of us are Starpiece ambassadors. I'm currently looking for people across the Pacific because the concept is to run events across international borders, thereby sharing the one sky. And so it's one sky and one people, but I tell them it's one love as well. Like Honey Day, Bob Marley's birthday, one love. I don't know Tahi right now. Sorry. Sahara Cafe is just across the street here, and that particular night we had 600 people look through a telescope. It was extraordinary. We had, I think, 1,307 square, but those are the 2 record-breaking astronomy events in New Zealand that we know of. This one we had 30 or 40 people queued up behind David's telescope. He's in the picture there and was coming, but I hadn't seen him yet. The point about that is that public outreach, community outreach, is alive and well. The people are generally, I think, looking for something a little bit more than just science. This one was 400 years, almost to the day that Galileo saw the moons of Jupiter for the first time, and that was the catalyst for going, well, if Jupiter can be the centre of that little system, then that's another place that has a complete system. Maybe the sun could actually be the centre of the universe. We do Seasons Without Borders and Beauty Without Borders, basically looking at the sky as worldwide global events. And International Observe the Moon Night was a NASA initiative where they asked Astronomers Without Borders to support them, and they just got $1 billion out of that bailout fund a year ago, or whatever it was. And $1 million of that was spent on an accounting department just to track the money that the government was using to support them. So cynically, I say that they just saw some global networks that could do their work for free. They wouldn't host our webcasts. We had to use Ustream and Adobe Connect and stuff. But here in Wellington, we ran an event that we planned to be right there, which was easily recognisable as just over the road. And my mate Stobby said he'd put it up on the big projector, and we got everybody involved, and then we had the most horrendous storm that we've had all year. And it was kind of, we're going to support it as part of their spring function. So that's what happened. So what we did, in true nerd/geek styles, set up a little production unit and projected the moon up on the ceiling, and then had another camera head web streaming it out, and so use live stream and Ustream and Adobe Connect. Does anybody else use Adobe Connect here? Because I'm really interested in actually sharing and learning a bit more about it. We've got a sponsored version, but it's really challenging for places like China, the Philippines. India is not too bad, Sri Lanka is okay, Romania is okay. Even Brazil, where Skype works absolutely perfectly, still a bit challenged with Adobe. And so what we did here is we actually took a stream coming out of Canada from a whole bunch of astronomers all around the world for 24 hours, literally for 24 hours, took everybody else's stream and then shared it out into all the other streams. And I'd quite like to do a bit more of that as well. So, that's what happened. Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. South Coast. Now here's a photo that I took in 2003, November, I think it was the 26th or 27th, and was published on NASA's spaceweather.com the same day. That's what I really woke up and went, whoa, the network really is the thing. You guys can see this from here in Wellington when one happens. So it takes, you have to hunt them because you get a maximum of 2 days notice, and then it's only a maybe. You're not really sure why a flare coming out of the sun will actually deliver this to us, but we're so far south here, and because of the magnetic anomaly, Aurora Australis actually rises up further and gives us these beautiful opportunities. I've got a video version of this that I've manipulated to replay the dynamics of it, and I'm going to put that up on the screen at the end of the talk. Drew's around. Okay. South Coast is a place that we go to quite often with telescopes, and particularly Terrestrial Point. This is really Princess Bay between Halton Bay and Terrestrial Point. It's one of the reasons why I campaign so strongly to keep this place natural and free. If you go there now, you'll see that actually it's retained its natural beauty. So there's two sets of pictures here. One of them is a solar eclipse, a total solar eclipse that was truly stunning, and essentially that's what we went to see. The moon crosses over the sun with absolute precision, and we have a huge darkening. You can see stars during the daytime. It's the most weird thing. I think we only had a partial that we went to about. It got down to about 60% from where we were. And then one night we had 200 people come along in the middle of winter. It was literally 10 degrees. I measured it. The storm warnings were saying 50 kilometres to 80 kilometres. We still had 200 Wellingtonians, extremists. We were extreme people. Look at that. We just went out and did it anyway. And here's one of my son with our setup before the people came. And that's what we went to see and record. One of these is happening on December 19th, I think it is. It might be the 21st, just getting a bit confused. It's not going to be quite the same. This one was a total lunar eclipse. The moon went to the minimum brightness. It went coppery red. It actually did. I saw it photographed it. It looked three-dimensional. It looked like a sphere. I've never seen the moon really look like a sphere. It looks like a black disk most of the time. So exactly at sunset, the full moon rises, and it's in total eclipse for the rest of the world, but for us it's about, probably looks like that, it's probably about 80%. And this is the reason why I chose to guard the south coast. I campaigned for the dark skies, because it's a precious time that we can discover things. There's a kiwi there, which I can't really see, but you can see the beak of the kiwi. And in a better picture, there's actually, it's a negative kiwi. It's a kiwi made of dark gases and nebulosity. Somebody down south claimed to have discovered it last year. We certainly laughed at them. And you can see from here that actually one of the critical problems in our society is that we've lit the natural environment. These are insomniac seagulls. These seagulls fly around all night. They don't have to go to sleep, they don't want to. 50% of the biology of the world, incidentally, requires proper dark to form life, really, just normal life, let's say normal life. So part of my day job, you might say, my work with music actually takes me to music festivals with camera crews, and so I suddenly realised I had the opportunity, if the moon was up, to get it on the screen, because I could just point my camera up there and tell the video operator to post it to the screen. And I figured that way I could actually reach a whole lot more people. In this case, it doesn't look like that many people, but we had between 7,000 and 15,000 people at Parihaka. So there's the potential for exposure to astronomy and the sky tonga. In the Organic River Festival in Levin, we put a projector inside the tent, and I got one of the Levin stargazers to bring up his big telescope and put standard video camera on that and projected from the inside of the tent, so that the crowd were just like, wow, check that out. Some person had this is just a tin can, literally, with a nail or a pin of some sort, pinned out the word and a candle inside. That's one candle power. It's an EOS 20D, it's not a particularly fancy digital camera, and of course it was full moon though. And we delivered telescopes and shared those things with people so that optical, not really any technology, no electronics, and in Auckland we did pretty much the same thing with up to 50,000 people for 3 nights in a row. This is New Zealand's biggest festival. Most of the festivals are based on the movements of the moon. So the relationship of the sun and the moon. The Chinese New Year is not really celebrated at the exact time because it's obviously put on the weekend. But once again, we managed to put the moon up, and this is a daylight screen. It's not in the day at this time, but it's a full daylight screen the size of a truck on the back of a huge trailer. So not really much comparison. Although you can see a head over there. You can see a head here, so you can see how big it is compared to a head. The moon is the size of an adult. And back to 2000. Oh well, that was last year too. This is Civic Square. You may recognise that we put on 12 hours of free music. We literally put on a concert, free, 12 hours of live music with telescopes. So that kind of, it wasn't really understood by the astronomical community, but we thought, well, we'd go for the record, we'd get the most views for a telescope by anybody ever in New Zealand. And I think we had the Wiggles playing, so we had 500 people queued up outside the town hall. They saw and heard what was happening, and as soon as their show was over, they were in, times 2 or 3. Can't quite remember. Once again, queues behind the telescopes. There's a solar telescope. In fact, that one has a hydrogen alpha filter from Carter when it was closed. That was on loan to us, and so that we could show people the flares coming out of the sun during the day, which is quite spectacular to see. Wakefest was Mangakino on Whakamaru Dam, I think it is. Yep. Beside the lake. We had a huge concert there, culminating in Concord Dawn. I just ran around and did my usual astrophotography thing. Now this one is really special. This one's for the guys at the bar, because this is Johnny Coleman's telescope. This is the oldest New Zealand-made telescope, and owned by the guy who owns this place. We put it in the front window of the public library because we thought that would be a really cool thing to do. You can see how big it is. So it's a monster. Still perfectly functional, restored by a friend of mine, Gordon. And it was there for, I think, about a couple of months. This one here is the oldest, it's an antique telescope owned by the Wellington Astronomical Society. But the thing here that completely blew me away, and how this happens, I don't know. But there's my old family camera, the box brownie, that all the negatives that I've inherited was taken in the 40s and 50s. Here's the camera that took that aurora shot before that you saw, and it's taken comet shots. Just the miscellaneous cameras that we put in just to celebrate the International Year of Astronomy. And we did an art installation called 3 Scopes, which is actually three pieces, and so far I've only made the first one, which is the sky. We did all kinds of webcasts and stuff on their big screen, and we actually webcast the stuff outside to the inside, and had a great time. Do the same in the forest. It's a very special place at Waioronamai. Now, if you talk to anybody in the music industry, this is really where the industry goes to have their party, and we have it on off night, and so we get all the toys to play with. Now this is Stobby bringing in a 5-metre weather balloon and projecting shots of the sky. You can see I cheated. I took that Levin idea. I got a Coke can and pricked out a forest and put a candle in it, and I can carry it around and put it on my shots. So that's one candle. Literally, that's one candle power. And don't ask it. Is that my thought on it? It's a real authentic old power. Last sequence, Stonehenge Aotearoa. This is my next dream that I'm dreaming right now. Put on a music concert there, asking for help, as many people as possible. It's a huge place. And you can see the divisions will put screens in some of those divisions and project that way, but the audience will be inside. And so from the inside, we will, I'll just go back a couple there, we'll project 6 projectors onto continuously on the inside, and then we'll map it, so, and then produce a show, which just, and so that's the reason for all the stuff that I'm doing, really. It's been building to that one for several years now. Going back to that, if you hear that compressor cut in and turn me off, technology,
Speak up.
doesn't matter, because it's all talking at the same level. I'm just waiting for it to come back. Thank you. Okay, now, if you look through that hole, you'll see the SCP. It's the South Celestial Pole. If you put an axle through planet Earth, that's where the end of the axle would be. So we literally do that. We get a laser pointer and shine it up there, and then we know exactly where the SCP is, and that's really important because for astrophotography and telescopes, you need to align telecomputers exactly where they are at and how the Earth around them is moving, and then once you've done that, they'll track and they'll be perfect. There's a thing called an analemma. I just did it again, sorry, turn that down. An analemma as part of the tourism program, and then we have the picture that I took there 2 years ago in the middle of winter. If you go there in May after a frost or during a frost, the sky completely knocked the socks off. So.